Westernspring Television. Ours it is.
Here are the top stories of the news. President Buhari confers national honor on Tinubu Shetima ahead of inauguration. House of Rep Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila Deputy Idris Wase clash at plenary yesterday. On the foreign scene, amid technology glitch, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis launches bid for 2024 U.S. presidential race. Good afternoon and welcome to Spring News at 12 on Westernspring Television. My name is Damilola Raphael. We begin with politics, where President Muhammadu Buhari has conferred the country's highest national honor, the Grand Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic, GCFR, on President-elect Bola Tinubu. The President will also confer the second highest national honor, the Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger, GCON, on Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima. This is part of activities lined up to usher in the new administration of Bola Tinubu as he takes over from President Buhari as he completes his two terms of 4 years each, mandated by the Constitution. In the meantime, there was some tension between the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, and his deputy, Idris Wase, at close of plenary yesterday. Both men openly disagreed over the duration of today's plenary, as the Speaker insisted that proceedings should be short enough to allow him and other members attend the official commissioning of the permanent site of the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies. The Deputy Speaker, on his part, maintained that the work of Parliament should come first, and members who would like to attend the commissioning should do so without affecting today's plenary. Wase had protested the zoning formula of his party, the All Progressives Congress, for the leadership of the about-to-be inaugurated 10th National Assembly, while Gbajabiamila had backed the party's endorsement of Abbas Tajuddin as his successor.
Honourable members are invited to the official commissioning of the permanent site of the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, scheduled as follows. Thursday, 25th May, which is tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. So Chairman, Business and Resources, let's make the order paper light for tomorrow, because we have this, it's very important. The permanent site of NILS is at 2:30, so it'll be good that we close at 2. Yes, sir.
Mr. Speaker, respected colleagues, as we are winding up, we have lost quite a number of period of time. For a commission of a project, for God's sake, why do we have to shelve a lot of activity that we have just to go and witness commission of a project of NILS? I want to beg, sir, that we should do our functions. Those who have the interest to go to NILS, they have the right to go there. But our main primary and function in this parliament is to make law, and our citizens should be more priority to us, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. Perhaps DS, you don't.
I was part of those that went for this.
It was set up.
So I have every information and idea as what this
by this same institution, the House, to go to NILS. What I said was, let's try and make it light and leave here by 2. If you want, we can resume at 10. We will do our work, but we will adjourn this House at 2 o'clock. I will witness NILS because it is important to me. So, as I was saying, the second announcement.
Mr. Speaker, sir.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Sir, the parliament is about us, not about I. Thank you very much.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, this is the first time in history I've been in this house for many years, perhaps even longer than anybody here. This is the first time in history that a Deputy Speaker will be challenging what the Speaker is saying. Let us rise for Aisha.
I don't understand what you mean by challenging.
Let's rise for 1 minute, please.
Meanwhile, Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State has declared his total support for the ambition of Senator Godswill Akpabio for the office of the Senate President of the 10th National Assembly. Governor Wike stated that this was the time for him to support the former governor as he supported him when he wanted to be governor of Rivers State. He said this when he received members of the Stability Group, a group of senators-elect rooting for the emergence of Akpabio, led by its Director General, Senator Ali Ndume. He disclosed that he was impressed that despite his endorsement by the APC and the president-elect, he is still consulting his colleagues, noting that this is the way it should be. In his response, the Senate presidential hopeful, Senator Godswill Akpabio, thanked Governor Wike for his support for his aspiration to emerge the next Senate president. Away from politics, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State yesterday inaugurated 13 projects in 8 local government areas of the state. The governor stated this via his Twitter handle, noting that it was part of his administration delivering on its promise to bring progress and prosperity to the people. He disclosed that schools to jetties, medical facilities to roads, the projects will transform lives and build a greater Lagos. The projects were inaugurated in Amuwo-Odofin, Badagry, Agege, Ojo, Alimosho, Ifako-Ijaye, Ikeja, and Ajeromi Ifelodun local governments. Here in Osun State, Permanent Secretary of the State Ministry of Education, Adelani Aderiniola, has confirmed that the students of Fakunle Comprehensive High School who were hospitalized on Tuesday due to inhaling tear gas canisters discharged from a Mopol base opposite the school have been discharged. Olayinka Ali has the rest of the story.
The protection of children should be paramount, both at home and in school, because they could be vulnerable. Sadly, some students of Fakunle Comprehensive High School, Oshogbo, the Osun State capital, were shocked by the release of tear gas canisters from the Mopol base opposite the school during a drill and fitness exercise at the premises. According to the Permanent Secretary of Osun State Ministry of Education, Adelani Aderiniola, he received a report from the school's principal, who stated that 23 students inhaled the fumes of tear gas canisters and reacted to it. Aderiniola said immediately the principal got to know of this, they were rushed to a nearby hospital and the Uni Osun Teaching Hospital.
The Mopol of station is directly opposite Fakunle Comprehensive High School. And as they normally do, they were having their morning drills, and because of doing that, there was some explosion of tear gas. There were some tear gas explosions, and this happened to be blown to the school. The fumes of the gas were blown to the school, and some students were affected by these fumes. And immediately the principals got to know about this. They quickly called the ambulance to ferry students to hospital, to a nearby hospital first.
Contrary to the Permanent Secretary, the head of operations, Osun State's Emergency Medical Services and Ambulance System, Elizabeth Aruwoshafe, claimed that team rescued a total number of 35 students, while 28 students were taken to the hospital. The others were resuscitated in their ambulance. She stated also that there was a student who was asthmatic, but was later resuscitated and discharged from the hospital.
The event was so bad. In fact, we have to evacuate the puppy 3 times. We have to look for backup, but we thank God that we were able to do it. In fact, there was one guy there, I think the age of 10 to 12. I mean, it should be the girl should be 15 years, according to the history the paramedics gave me, that is having a breathing attack, which I suspected to be asthmatic. And what we have in our vehicle, the consumable, we make use of it. And before they could convey the puppy to Uniosun. It has calmed down, and they observed the puppy, and he was discharged yesterday.
The National Publicity Director for the Nigerian Parents Teachers Association, Dr. Ekundayo Adebola, in his opinion, feels that the Mopol base should be relocated or their drilling suspended to weekends when students would not be in school so as to prevent future occurrence.
The mobile police force has been there for long. And this is not the first time, I can tell you authoritatively, this is not the first time such a thing will happen. It is because it has not gotten to this level. That is why the public did not know that it has been happening before. Even the people living around that area, they have been experiencing it, but not to this magnitude. But we thank God that, we were able to manage it and it's still under control.
Similarly, Jamaa Nigerian Society of Engineers, Osogbo branch, engineer Wasiu Idowu, whose office is located in that axis, suggested that in order to prevent such an incident from happening again, the Mopol base, which is a security outfit, can be moved to another location or they control their activities during the day.
From engineering perspective, anything you want to site or locate, you do environmental impact assessments. By the time that place was, they were settled there, that place was okay for them. But from the look of things now that the town expanded, some of the activities affect the surrounding interests, like school. There are garages around, there are some other private establishments there, and it has been confirmed that anytime they are doing their drilling, the effect of their canister is felt by almost everybody around that. And the particular one that happened yesterday led to a lot of students getting hospitalized.
The police public relations officer in Osun State, Yemisi Opalola, stated that the Mopol officers have been corrected about such actions, urging members of the public not to panic because it is a normal routine.
It's a normal routine exercise of the police. Whenever we have such drill going on, there used to be, it's part of the things that that the police use to train their policemen, to make them to be, to be up to the task whenever they encounter whatever things that may be like that, and that is what they are doing. It's not anything that is.
Meanwhile, the Permanent Secretary of the Osun State Ministry of Education confirmed that all the students affected have been discharged and normalcy have been restored in the school premises. Olayinka Ali, Westernspring Television News.
You're watching Spring News at 12 on Westernspring Television. We will be right back after this break.
The Berlin Conference of 1884 defined the configuration of Africa, which hitherto existed as a continent of multiple kingdoms and empires under native rulers. The conference, otherwise referred to as Congo Conference, regulated European colonization and trade in Africa as initiated by German leader Otto von Bismarck. The Berlin Conference is often called the scramble for and partitioning of Africa, as each of the imperial powers carved separate portions of the continent for themselves without recourse to racial and cultural identities and differences. 137 years after the Berlin Conference was held, Africa remains a legitimized playground for European nations that sought to exploit its wealth and resources and manipulate its human capital to promote trades and investments of Western powers. Westernspring Television identifies the Berlin Conference as a major event in history.
Welcome back. Let's serve you more reports now. Talking business. The presidency says President Muhammadu Buhari gave the nod for last-minute funds a few days away to hand over to the administration of Bola Tinubu because the government needs funds to clear debts. The special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, stated this in a news chat while assessing the performance of the president's 8-year tenure in office. He noted that the government is working to pay off some of the debts it's owing. He stated that the government has a mandate from a time to a certain time, as that mandate was from 2019 to 2023. So the government is working. The president had earlier yesterday written to the Senate seeking approval for a request to pay the judgment debt in the sum of $566 million, 90,000 euros, and 226 billion naira. And outside Nigeria, negotiators for Democratic President Joe Biden and top congressional Republican Kevin McCarthy held what both sides called productive talks yesterday to try to reach a deal to raise the United States' $31.4 trillion debt ceiling and avoid a catastrophic default. After a 4-hour White House meeting, U.S. House Speaker McCarthy said negotiations had improved and would continue in the evening. He predicted the two sides would reach an agreement, though several issues remain unresolved. White House spokesperson Karen Jean-Pierre said talks remain fruitful. She said at a briefing while discussions were taking place, but if it keeps going in good faith, an agreement could be reached. But the White House and congressional Democrats also accused Republicans of taking the economy hostage to advance an agenda they could otherwise not pass.
You have the most revenue in the history of coming in. But when the Democrats were in power, they spent the most money. So we have the most expenses going out, the expenditures. It's not a revenue problem, it's a spending problem. And then you have the highest amount of debt. Don't you think that would finally wake them up to be sensible? Now look, I don't want to point things out, but we have a new here with CNN. I just heard on your news station that 60% of Americans believe the debt ceiling should only be raised after you found savings. So to your question, I think we're representing the American public, and that's what we'll continue.
And still in business, the German economy contracted in the first quarter of 2023 compared with the previous 3 months, thereby entering recession. Data from the Statistics Office this morning showed that the gross domestic product fell by 0.3% for the quarter. This follows a decline of 0.5% in the fourth quarter of 2022. A recession is commonly defined as 2 successive quarters of contraction. The first estimate had shown GDP stagnating in the first quarter and Germany skirting a recession. Year on year, GDP fell by 0.5% when adjusted for price and calendar effects. Household consumption was down 1.2% quarter on quarter after price, seasonal and calendar adjustments. Government spending also decreased significantly by 4.9% on the quarter. On the foreign scene, after months of anticipation, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has officially launched his United States presidential campaign in a rocky, glitch-filled broadcast over Twitter. Republicans need the courage to lead and must have the strength to win, he said, after technical issues delayed yesterday's announcement by more than 20 minutes. He stated that if nominated, the people can set their clock to January 20th, 2025 at high noon, because on the west side of the U.S. Capitol, he will be taking the oath of office as the 47th president. The broadcast, which was hosted by Twitter CEO Elon Musk and right-wing entrepreneur David Sachs, initially faltered multiple times. Yesterday's bumpy announcement set up a fight between DeSantis and the presumed Republican frontrunner, former President Donald Trump.
Worth fighting for. Righting the ship requires restoring sanity to our society, normalcy to our communities, and integrity to our institutions. Truth must be our foundation. and common sense can no longer be an uncommon virtue. In Florida, we proved that it can be done. We chose facts over fear, education over indoctrination, law and order over rioting and disorder. We held the line when freedom hung in the balance. We showed that we can and must revitalize America. We need the courage to lead and the strength to win. I'm Ron DeSantis, and I'm running for president to lead our great American comeback.
In Asia on Sunday, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate a new parliament building in capital New Delhi, a decision that has led to at least 19 opposition parties announcing their plans to boycott the event. In a joint statement, the national and regional parties yesterday said India's President Draupadi Murmu should open the new parliament and have accused Mr. Modi of sidelining the country's first tribal head of state. India's president is an indirectly elected non-party executive with only ceremonial powers, but is considered the country's first citizen and is the highest constitutional authority. The parties said the decision of the Prime Minister to sideline the president and inaugurate the new parliament building by himself is not only a grave insult, but a direct assault on India's democracy. Until the Russia-Ukraine war, Russia's Wagner mercenary group has started withdrawing its forces from the Ukrainian city of Bakhmut. Its founder, Yevgeny Prigozhin, in a video posted on Telegram by his press service, said his troops are withdrawing from Bakhmut starting from today and will end on June 1. Mr. Prigozhin, dressed in battle gear and standing beside a war-damaged residential block when making the statement, stated that most of the units will rebase the camps in the rear while handing their positions to the Russian military. Mr. Prigozhin announced the capture of Bakhmut on Saturday after the longest and bloodiest battle of the war. To some sports stories, Nigeria defeated Italy in an end-to-end encounter at the FIFA Under-20 World Cup Argentina 2023 yesterday to secure a place in the knockout stage. Goals from Salim Fago Lawals and Jude Sunday means the Flying Eagles qualify for the next round with 6 points, while the Azzurri are on 3 points after 2 games apiece in Group D. Both sides had chances in the first half, with Tommaso Baldanze testing the hands of Kingsley Anyagboso. The first goal arrived. Salim Fago Lawal opened the scoring just after the hour mark with a flying header before Sunday secured the victory for the Flying Eagles in stoppage time. In Italy, Lautaro Martinez scored twice as Champions League finalist Inter Milan came from behind to beat Fiorentina and win their second consecutive Coppa Italia title. Fiorentina opened the scoring at Stadio Olimpico after just 3 minutes when Nico Gonzalez drilled in a cross. Martinez equalized from a tight angle in the 29th minute before he got the winner 8 minutes later with a volley. Fiorentina faced West Ham in the Europa Conference League final on 7th June, while Inter play Manchester City in the Champions League final on 10th June. In England, Brighton's Giulio Enciso scored a fantastic equalizer as the Seagulls confirmed Europa League qualification with an entertaining draw against champions Manchester City. Phil Foden opened the scoring for treble-chasing City, squeezing the ball beyond Brighton defender Jan-Paul Van Heck on the goal line after Erling Haaland's assist left goalkeeper Jason Steele stranded. Brighton deservedly leveled through 19-year-old Enciso's stunning strike, which arrowed into the top corner from 25 yards. Haaland had a goal ruled out for a pull on his marker in 79th minute following a video assistant referee review, as Brighton held on for a draw that ends City's 12-match winning run in the Premier League. Manager Roberto De Zerbi, speaking after the game, said he went into coaching because of Pep Guardiola after the City boss had praised him as one of the most exciting coaches ahead of the game.
I became coach for him because yes, I don't know if se per merito o una colpa.
I don't know if it's like a merit or something not good.
But I became coach for him because I loved his Barcelona. I studied him a lot. I don't love to copy no one, and I didn't copy. But I talk when I started to be a coach. Before also, when I finished to play, to be a player.
And briefly in entertainment, Tina Turner, the unstoppable singer and stage performer who teamed with husband Ike Turner for a dynamic run of hit records and live shows in the 1960s and 70s, has died at 83. Miss Turner died Tuesday after a long illness in her home in Kusnat near Zurich, Switzerland, according to her manager. She became a Swiss citizen a decade ago and was popular for several chart-topping songs, including What's Love Got to Do With It? White House spokesperson Karen Jean-Pierre paid tribute to the songstress who survived her horrifying marriage to triumph in middle age.
That is the first time I'm hearing that. That is incredibly sad news. Tina Turner was an icon, a music icon who had many stages and many amazing moments in her career. Very sad to hear the news. I was a huge fan of Tina Turner. As you can see from my reaction, that is the first that I'm hearing of it. And it is a massive loss to the communities that loved her, and certainly to the music industry, and her music will continue to live on. Very sad news. Our hearts go out to her family and her friends on their loss.
And before we end the news, here is a recap of our top stories. President Muhammadu Buhari has conferred the country's highest national honor, the Grand Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic, GCFR, on President-elect Bola Tinubu. There was some tension between the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, and his deputy, Idris Wase, at close of plenary yesterday. On the foreign scene, we brought you news as after months of anticipation, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has officially launched his United States presidential campaign in a rocky, glitch-filled broadcast over Twitter. You can follow us on our social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Westernspring Television. You can also watch us live on our YouTube channel at Westernspring Television. That ends Spring News at 12. I am Damilola Raphael. Thanks for watching. Have a pleasant afternoon.